if we go to Germany, what is the real value add that we're bringing to the table? We're going to have 0.2% of the market. We have good technology. They also have good technology, and is a core market for Allianz. So what is the real value that we're bringing there? So what the decision was at the time, and we did the classic 172 slides analysis of every single market in the world. But what we decided with Luca, who has our international strategy, is let's look at these other underserved blind spot markets in Europe that look and feel like Greece. Romania, Czechia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Croatia, these kind of markets, which ironically, back to the history of the Greeks, there have always been Greek interests in these markets, whether it's recently with the banks, energy company, telcos before the Greek crisis, or even the old days. Like, you look at, I'm not talking Alexander the Great old, but, there has been always a Greek connection. So for us, when we started looking at these markets, we realized that it has very similar characteristics to Greece. You have the incumbents there, but it's a little bit of a blind spot market. If you're the CTO of Allianz in Germany, would you really go to Slovakia and fix their IT system before you fix Germany or the US? Probably not. If you're a high-flying guy in Generali, would you really be the CEO of Slovakia? You're probably going to be either in your early days where you need to cut your teeth somewhere or very close to retirement. So you don't get that aggressive competitiveness that you would get in a much more mature, aggressive market. Yeah. So for us, it was a blind spot. And when you see that, it creates profit pools, it creates the opportunity to go and disrupt them. So I think lessons from us is don't rush to go international if you're starting from a small market. You look at companies like Kaspi in Kazakhstan, is a $26 billion company from Kazakhstan, which is only 20 million people. So there are opportunities to unlock profit pools. You may need to go into adjacent verticals very quickly rather than sticking with one thing and doing one thing well. But at the same time, by rushing and going geographically and just getting a small market share, I don't think that's defensible in any market. So even if you're a food delivery business, even if you're a taxi hailing business, whatever it may be. So again, what we saw, and I think that is something that I would advise younger entrepreneurs that are starting something in a small country, I wouldn't say dominate your market, but at least understand your market before you go abroad. Now, Romania for us was a little bit of a fluke. We started looking at 4 or 5 markets together with our insurance partners. Munich Re is one of the biggest reinsurance companies in the world, and they're partners of ours on the insurance risk side. So we started looking at these blind spot markets. We said, look, they look very interesting. They're profitable, opportunity to disrupt. We'll bring a lot of technology and know-how from Greece. Let's go look at these markets together. And we were going to go to the Czech Republic, to Czechia. And during that time, 2 insurance companies shut down in Romania. So that was another market in dislocation. We were used to dislocation from Greece, macroeconomically. And then suddenly you have 2 companies blow up in Romania, which was kind of the 5th market we were going to target. So I said, okay, screw that. We're going to go to Romania.
Let's go straight there. Yeah.
And that was partly you design your own luck and you're a little bit lucky along the way. But I think that was great for us because in a very short period of time, we're bigger in Romania than we are in Greece now. We took a lot of the technology and the know-how. We proved to ourselves that we can go cross-border. So now that we're going to Czechia as a 3rd market, and with Cyprus is a 4th market, we feel pretty confident that the model works. But it wasn't a question of let's go for the big markets because that's where all the investors are throwing money at. We don't think we have an edge there. We went for these blind spot markets and we did it at a pace which I would argue was probably the right one with the benefit of hindsight.
Can I have a quick question here? Because you have a very strong brand in Greece, right? And a very big brand awareness. And in fact, Hellas, for those that might not know, is like the Greek name for Greece, right? And now you're making this expansion into a new market. Like, did that sort of create a challenge where you're like, do we have to... Yeah. So how do you navigate that?
And for those who don't know, and to add to the complication here, the first 4 letters of Hellas is hell. And our colors are black and white. So if I were a marketer on the other side, I would have a field day. But when we went to Romania, we actually did a bunch of consumer studies and we spoke to our local partners there. And we said, guys, what do you want us to be called? We can change our name. We can be called anything, right? And they said, actually, most Romanians love Greece. Most Romanians come, I think about 60 or 65% of Romanians have been to Greece. When you go to islands like Thassos in the summer, which is in the north part of Greece, I think about 90% of the people are Romanian. So there is a close affinity to Greece. So they said, no, Hellas is fantastic. We'll keep Hellas direct, which is weird because, we're in Romania, so it's no longer Hellas. And we're not selling just directly. We're distribution agnostic. We're selling through brokers, so we're not even direct.
Yeah.
But somehow in the mind of the Romanian consumer, that clicked. We're building a brand now from scratch. So we're spending some money on marketing. We're getting a lot more press awareness and all that stuff. So until now, the name didn't really matter. Now it's becoming I wouldn't say a household name yet, but we'll get there. Now, the interesting one was when we said, okay, let's go to the Czech Republic, much more Germanic in nature, very different to the Romanians that are. And actually, because the Czechs are very, very good engineers, they think like engineers. So we started saying, well, maybe they think of Hellas and Greece and they think frappe on the beach. Yeah. Do I really trust somebody for my insurance if I go there?
With my life?
And then we said, okay, let's test it with a consumer. We're numbers geeks, so we said, let's try that. And we tried a couple of alternatives. So we were literally ready to press the print button to print hoodies and whatever in the office. And the reality was that, no, Hellas Direct is fine. So like, okay. So I think we're stuck with it. The only reason we chose in the beginning, it cost $39.99 on GoDaddy. And that was cheap. Emilios locked it in. And yeah, there was not much more thinking than that.
I will say that Greece has a phenomenal brand. Like for a small country, like the idea of Greece has a brand that we're very lucky to have it, right? So despite the decade that we went to that we mentioned.
I think, and again, the benefit of being in a very unsexy industry that people don't buy insurance because they want to buy insurance. Yeah. They buy insurance because they feel that they have to. Either because somebody told them to, as in the state, they tell you unless you have insurance, you can't drive. Or because if it's health insurance or something like that, it's a part of your life planning mode. But you don't feel good about buying insurance. Any insurance company in the world, whether it's Geico or whatever.
That's very true.
So when you look at international companies, they try to make cartoons or funny jokes around insurance, but that assumes that you have a credible standing of the industry. So when you look at Geico, they are spending more than Coke every year in marketing. They spend about $1.2 billion in advertising.
I didn't know that.
When you think about some of the best campaigns, ad campaigns in the US, Super Bowl, et cetera, you look, some of them is Geico has about 5 ads playing at the same time for different customer segments. So insurance is one of those sectors that is so unsexy that some of the most creative minds are trying to crack it.